Hey, Melissa.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good, yeah.
That's awesome. Tell everybody where you live because I just am so obsessed with your accent.
I'm in Edinburgh in Scotland, so a bit different.
So amazing. I've heard Scotland is so beautiful. My parents have been there a couple times and they just said that it's so beautiful.
It's very beautiful. It can also be very rainy, as we're finding at the
Oh,
moment.
yeah?
Yeah, yeah. So we were just saying you definitely know it's August in Edinburgh because the rain has started. So
Yeah.
but it's very beautiful behind all that mist and things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely on my bucket list to come visit. And I have to apologize. My dog is barking right now because we have a new dog across the street and they like talk to each other. So
I should probably apologise in advance as well because I've got a dog and a cat, and Becca, my life coach, will tell you they like to make cameos in the calls quite a lot. So, yeah, you might see like a dog and cat flying about in the background.
I love it. I'm definitely an animal person. Okay, so let's just dive right in. For everybody tuning in, this is Melissa. She is a client of our coach Becca, who I interviewed Becca a little bit ago, and she's just the best. I love her so much. So let's just get right into all the questions. So why did you decide to join Blush in the first place? Did you have any like aha moment where you were like, okay, this is definitely the next step for me?
Yeah, so I joined Blush, I think it was about a year ago actually, and it was kind of a few things that came together all at the one time. So I'd always really enjoyed writing, and it was something I'd done, like I'd worked on the university newspaper, I had a master's in journalism, and after that I went and got a job in communications, which I really enjoyed, and sort of working my way up the ladder. And for a while I'd been, wanting to make that next step and a bit frustrated. I'm like not getting a promotion and things. So it was great. It happened. And I think like a lot of people, you kind of have that mindset of like, I'll go to school, I'll get good grades, I'll get a good job, I'll get promoted. And then suddenly everything will just sort of fall into place and it'll be this beautiful nirvana. And it wasn't. Surprise, surprise. Like it was still really satisfying, but I remember in the first month with this promotion, I'd done an event for like 500 people, and at the end of it I just kind of felt like, okay, yeah, that's great, but it wasn't. I needed something else in my life, like something outside of work at this point to kind of give me that full satisfaction. So yeah, I'd kind of also set myself the challenge a year before of writing a novel, and I had. And I was kind of at a point where I was like, how do I share this with the world? I don't know how to go about it, and just needing a bit of a sounding board, really. So yeah, after some frantic Googling, I came across Blush, and yeah, and that's where the story started, really.
That's awesome. I think that that's such a shared experience with everybody who's kind of navigating adulthood. I feel like we're all just like waiting for things to kind of fall together. And I think that having that piece of like, okay, on paper everything is looking good but there's still something that feels like it's missing. I think that's such a universal experience for everybody kind of transitioning into adulthood. So I love that. I love that the frantic googling brought you to Blush. That's so
Yeah,
amazing.
I mean, doesn't everyone have a frantic Google now and then?
Melissa, I literally frantically Google everything all the time. I'm like, what's happening? So funny. I went to the dentist yesterday and my mouth was really hurting afterwards, and so of course I'm googling like, what does this mean, what, like, and then the Google search, you can just get sucked into a dark rabbit
Yeah,
hole and you can't come back out. So
it pretty much always tells you you're going to die, and it's
I
just
know.
like, oh well, again.
Yeah, you're like, all right, bye. I love that. Okay, so what did you hope to get out of Blush when you started the process?
Um, I just wanted to sort of get some clarity about what was next for me, because um, I felt like I was at a bit of a crossroads and not really sure. I mean, I felt like I was at a crossroads, but the crossroads was overgrown, and I wasn't really sure if they were roads anyway, or if they were just like, I don't know, whatever they could be. And I just wanted to kind of have that bit of like a professional support, to help me through that. And because when you're doing something like writing, it can be quite solitary, but you know, if it's just you and the merry-go-round in your head, you're not really getting that input from anyone else to go, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, or have you thought about this? And you know, things don't seem so scary when you have that.
Yeah, and I think what's cool about that is that sounding board piece and just having someone to kind of talk life through with, is it's so unbiased, right? Like it's a neutral, unbiased party that can really see things from an external perspective and maybe shine like a new light on something in a way that you may not have seen before, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely.
I love that. Okay, so what do you like most about Blush? I love this question.
Um, I like how easy it is, in the sense that, you know, I think you know, the sort of millennial woman audience, like, you know, you've got a busy life, and it slots in so nicely because it is online. You know, obviously I'm in Edinburgh and Becca is in Texas, and you can just choose the time that suits your diary, and you know you've got that time with someone coming up, and it's just that time for yourself. It's not about anyone else in the most selfish way possible. I get to just talk about myself and my problems and what's happening with me, and it's nice to be able to have that dedicated time, and it's just so convenient being able to do it online as well.
Yeah, it sounds like that's something that you really like look forward to each week. I think that this work really falls into like that category of self-care and really caring for yourself in such a special way. And I think, you know, I have so many international clients, and I think that it's so cool because we're literally on different
Mhm.
sides of the world. And so I think that that's so cool and so convenient too. I feel like everything in this day and age is driven by technology. So to literally be able to pick up your phone and have a session right there and then when you need it, I think that that's so cool.
Especially during something like lockdown, um, where, you know, it was actually really nice to hear what was happening in a different country with lockdown and things, because you know, I'd often start a session and Becky would be like, "What's happening with you?" And I'd be like, "Still in the house, still here. The dog today, that was the great excitement." And then you'd hear what it was like in Texas, and it made you feel actually connected a bit more to the outside world as well.
Yeah, I love that perspective. I totally agree. I'm, you know, I'm sick of being in the house, but it's nice to, you know, talk to different people and just
Yeah.
kind of, it's kind of that social element that we're not really getting right now from being able to go out and hang with our friends and meet new people. So that social element is really important too, just in, you know, especially for all the extroverted people out there. What's your Myers-Briggs?
Oh, my Myers-Briggs. I am INFJ, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's not a question on here. I was just curious. But for all of those, like E's are really having a hard time with this because it, you know, that's where
Mhm.
you get your energy from, that social connection. I think everybody's really missing that. So I love that this process kind of brings that for you. I love it. Okay, how would you describe your relationship with Becca?
I'd say it's like having a professional friend, someone who it's literally their job to listen to you, to help you work through things, to support you and like celebrate the good moments as well. But it comes without, like, your friends are great in real life as well, but it's someone who is literally qualified in how to help you and support you as well. So, you know, when you've been friends with people for ages, like, you know, you have all this background and baggage and things, and there's lots of different dynamics at play, whereas this is someone who's just coming to it fresh, and that's often the person who can go, yeah, but why aren't you doing this, or have you tried that, and you sit there and go, but like suddenly everything is clear, everything is illuminated, you know.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, I'd say, like, in a phrase, a professional friend.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like, you know, with coaches, it's cool too with life coaching because we have, and I've talked about this a lot before with all of these client testimonials, but we have that professional clinical education and background, but we're also we're able to approach life coaching in such a way that is such a special relationship because we all are so invested in our clients' lives and we love them, you know, like it's
Mhm.
such a special relationship. And I think you know, we can meet all of our clients where they're at. And I think that that's really important because friends are great, right? Social support, support systems are amazing, but I think it's really helpful just to have that unbiased, neutral person that's coming and it's all about you. We're just a sounding board. It's really amazing. I actually was a client of Blush before I became a coach.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I know what it's like to be on the other end of it. And I just think it's such a special experience and such a special relationship too.
Definitely, yeah.
And you kind of touched on this, but what role does Becca play in your life?
So I think as well, it gives you some accountability, if that makes sense, because if you have dreams or plans, it's easy to just go, oh, I'd like to do that, and then get sucked back into doing the dishes and doing this and doing that and never getting around to it. Whereas I know if I've talked to Becca about so like my big thing at the moment is self-publishing my book, and I know if I've said I'm looking for a venue for the book launch, and I know in 2 weeks I'm going to be asked how that's gone. so it's good because it makes you think I'm going to have to say, like, not in a pressurized way or anything, but I'm going to have to say, like, oh, I'm doing this now, or if I'm not doing this, I'm going to be asked why I'm not doing it. And in an encouraging and supporting way. But it's good because even if you haven't done something, you reflect on, like, what has been the mental barrier that stopped you and how you can overcome that. Because it's easy enough without that to go, oh yeah, well, this is a bit like icky and adult and out there, and I don't really fancy doing it. So,
Yeah, I totally get that. I think sometimes we can stand in our own way. Like we can be the person that is standing in our own way. So I think that accountability piece is such a beautiful part of this process because you're the one who comes up with what you want to do. And we're just there to really make sure that you're staying true to yourself and what you want and in alignment with who you are. And I think that that's, amazing. It's an amazing accountability piece on top of this layer of friendship and on top of this layer of a sounding board and this clinical layer. Like there's so many different layers to this process and it's just beautiful. I love it so much. Okay, what benefits have you gotten out of the process so far?
So I think for me, I don't think I would be in the place I am at all had I not started talking with Becca on Blush a year ago. I think, it would have been very tempting for after having written my book to just, put it in a drawer and go, well, that's how I started off. I went, I just want to write a book, and then when I've done that, I'll be fine. I'll just put it in a drawer. And then it became like, while I was talking to Becca, I realized how more I wanted to succeed with it. So that became, oh, it's fine. I'll just put it in a drawer. And then it became like, no, but I want other people to read it. So it became sharing with other people and how you manage that. And then it became, okay, so if you want to publish, how are you going to do it? And then it became, right, okay, so I want to self-publish because I've got a background in marketing and all this, so it'd be really interesting to see the nuts and bolts of the process. And now it's become like a book that's going to be released in November. So so I think that's, been like a huge impact in my life, because I think it would be very tempting to just still be in the same place and be like, I wrote this thing, and never really progressing with it.
Yeah, I love that. Congratulations. That is so exciting. I want to read it. I want to read it.
Well, of
Um,
course.
I love it. And I think, I think you're so right. I think through this process, just being able to push in such a gentle, not push, but like gently encourage you to really tune into what you actually want. Because I think sometimes like diving into the unknown, like that process of writing something and pouring your heart into something and then publishing it for the world to see, that's a lot comes up, right? That's scary. There's a lot of unknown, a lot of uncertainty. So to really have kind of a rock that you can lean on and kind of bounce ideas off of and process out loud towards through that whole process, I'm sure that's been so helpful.
No, definitely, because I think it's a bit around confidence as well, that it takes a lot of confidence to be able to share something like that, and I just wouldn't have had that a year ago. Whereas I think now, having sort of had these conversations, it has given me the confidence to go out there and push myself as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love the confidence piece. It's so important in life is scary and putting yourself out there is scary. So I think you know, you're not only doing the work on the outside of like, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? What are my dreams? How do I get there? But you're also doing all this work on the inside too, so that you're in a better place to really tackle all of these things when you get there, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. Okay, so what are you currently working on with Becca?
So at the moment, I've been working, unsurprisingly, on stuff to do with the book at the moment. And I think for me, I'm still working like full time during the day in my current post. So for me at the moment, it's been about balancing things, because I am very much like, have always been the person who will do everything, if that makes sense. And I'm just like, sure, why not? Like, let's add this in. This will surely be fine. Like, what's burnout? You know. So I think you know, it's been good to have that person reflect and go, you're doing a lot. Like, you need to take that time. And you know, for me, like, writing is a form of self-care, but like, you know, maybe organizing events for it and editing aren't forms of self-care. So making sure that I'm balancing things and still getting enjoyment out of writing, but still having structure and things, and being able, it's a time where unavoidably I have to do a lot, but in a time where I'm sort of taking care of myself, like mentally and physically, and still doing it. Because you know, it'd be very, very easy to just sort of plow on and then go, oh, why don't I feel great?
Yeah, especially if that's your mode of functioning that you're used to, of just, you know, go, 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 go. Yes, I'll take on anything, you know, yes, I'll do it. I think it's helpful if we've been that way and that's our method of functioning for so long. It can be really helpful to have someone else to just be like, okay, slow down. You need a second. You need to literally rest and do nothing for an hour or whatever. I think that that's so important to make sure that, you know, back to that accountability piece, but someone keeping you accountable for your self-care, because, you know, you have a job, you're writing this amazing book, and that's your passion, but you want it to continue being your passion, you know?
Yeah. And you don't want to sort of it to become like something that you dread or don't like doing. So it's been really good to have that and go, actually, you know, I think like Becca basically prescribed me time to play on my phone. Like, she was like, just like take 15 minutes and just like play on your phone or something. And it's like, well, someone has told me to do it now. And I think, you know, in life we're so used to like having, you know, when you're at school or whatever, you're told what to do. Like, you're told you need to do this, and you get to a point where you're just like, it's open season, try and cope with adult life now. And then, you know, it's nice to have that that's someone looking out for you and giving you that permission to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Right, I'm just aware there's a cat coming out.
I saw the tail, and I kind of see your dog too a little bit on this corner.
Oh yes, yeah. They, I think they're getting ready for a show for you.
I love animals so much. Okay, last couple questions. Who do you think is a good candidate for Blush?
Well, I think if you've watched to this point in the video, you probably are a good candidate. Like, if you're going like, yes, 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 this is me, then I think you're definitely a good candidate. But I also think it's people who don't think they need or want help as well. Like, if you're going, I'm fine, I've got it under control, I'm achieving, I'm doing this, this, and this, but you're maybe not taking the time to actually look at yourself and think like, is this what I really want? Like, is this what I'm wanting to do? And sometimes it is what you're wanting to do, and that's great. But like, I don't know, I think I'd be kicking myself if I wasn't taking that time out now to think about why I'm doing things and what I want to achieve out of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, you know, this work is something that everybody could benefit from. Like, who doesn't love being more in touch with themselves and what they want and their values and their beliefs, and going after their goals and finally doing what they've always said that they wanted to do? Like, I think that's something that literally everybody could benefit from, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree.
I love that. Okay. So what is one, you kind of touched on this also, but what is one thing you've learned from the coaching process? If there's like one thing that you're really like, wow, okay, that kind of changed my life.
I think it's just about being able to open up to like a third party that's not your friends or family, because it's something quite freeing about it. And, you know, I mean, it's not like, you know, it's not like you're going to walk down the street and be like, hello, random stranger, I'm publishing a book, please listen to this. You know, so it's nice to, you know, you work on that sort of, I think working on that, being that vulnerable that you can talk about stuff, but also confident enough to talk about stuff, has been really helpful for me, especially with doing the book publishing, because like you say, you're opening yourself up, you know, you're saying like, I think this is good enough to share with the world, so let's see how this goes. And you know, you do need to be vulnerable but confident with that.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that vulnerability piece because it's really so important. And I think we're all kind of just in this day and age trained to just be tough and keep going and, you know, shove those emotions deep down where you can't feel them, or yeah, shove them down there. And so I think, you know, not only are you doing all this work and working towards your goals and getting that confidence piece and all of that, but you're also it's experiencing, and maybe for the first time for some people, that ability to be vulnerable and be safe in that place of vulnerability. Because that's, you know, when you have an experience where you open up and you're vulnerable and it goes horrible, then you're like, okay, I'm done, never again. But I think having this space where it's a safe space that your coach can hold that space for you and allow you to process those emotions. And it's, you leave and you're like, okay, that wasn't so bad, right? And then you're kind of like gain the confidence to try it again and try it again. So I love that. I think I'm the biggest advocate for vulnerability. So I love that. Okay, last question. What advice would you give to someone who's considering joining Blush or just starting out in the process?
I think, you know, in your first few sessions, I would just sort of pretend in your head you're meeting an old friend for coffee or a drink or something, because I think like when I first started, I didn't, you know, I was a bit sort of nervous, and poor Becca, it probably looked like I was in like some sort of hostage video half the time, like a bit nervous and just sitting there like, yeah, well, I don't really know what's wrong with my life. You know, so I think if, you know, I think I probably could have benefited more from just relaxing a bit and just being like, yeah, this is me, this is what's going on, like, you know, as you would if you've not seen a friend in a few months and we're just catching up and going like, here's the plot history of what's been going on the last few months.
Yeah, I mean, with all of those initial first sessions, it's really just about getting to know each other. And that's what's cool about life coaching versus therapy is I feel like in therapy, or I know in therapy, it's really like a one-sided relationship in the sense of your therapist knows everything about you and you really don't know that much about your therapist. And with life coaching, I think it's cool because that relationship goes both ways and you're able to know, you know, those first couple sessions are about sharing and getting to know each other and kind of what's coming up and being able to relate to those with parallel processes, you know, and all of these things. So I love that. And I think that that's so important. And I love that tip too, just like going into it feeling like, you know, maybe even taking a couple breaths before you get into it and just being rest assured. I love too, and I always mention this, but Blush does such a good job about matching coach with client based on personality preferences and interests. So a lot of the times, you know, with clients that I first get matched with, I'm like, I feel like I've known you for my whole life because, you know, we match on so many different levels. So I think that's really amazing. And I love that. It sounds like you and Becca have a really beautiful relationship and that you've gotten a lot out of this process so far. And I think it's one of those things that is like a lifelong thing that you can, you know, some people stay with Blush we have Blush clients since we started out years ago, you know? So it's one of those things that even if it's just a random check-in, like, hey, you know, this is what's going on with me, this is what's coming up. I think that's just so amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's something most of us don't take the time to do outside of it, and it's been so useful, really great.
Well, I love that. And I'm so happy that I got to meet you. Happy belated birthday again. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. It's almost the weekend.
Yeah, almost. Well, thanks so much for chatting with me.
Yeah,
And
it was so nice to meet you. I'll talk to you later, okay?
okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.